Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sketchy Legends. Before we get into the meat of this week's topic, I'd like to preface this video by saying that the piece I'm creating for this specific video was the most frustrating thing on the planet. For some reason, nothing was going right when I was working on it. I originally started drawing it as a ink drawing, and I just absolutely hated how it was coming out. So then I photographed it and uploaded it into Photoshop and traced the parts that I liked and redrew the parts that I didn't. I have 7 hours worth of screen recording of this drawing, and it isn't even halfway done. So, you'll see toward the end of the video that I just start giving up on the drawing altogether. And so it's not like I don't like the drawing. I actually really like the concept. What I don't like was the execution and how long it was taking, because I like things to move rather quickly, and this just wasn't moving quickly. And like my last sketchy legend, the watercolor for the Titanic, that actually in real time took 4 hours. And this is 7 hours of footage, and that's just way too much footage for the length of video I want to do. So if you see some skips in what I'm drawing, it's because I had to cut out some footage in order to make some timely choices, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in order to make some timely choices. And also, part of it, when I started coloring in the hair, I realized I wasn't screen recording, and I think that's also when I just started saying, screw it, I don't care anymore, like, I'm done with this drawing. So it was very important for me to put this video out, and it was just another way of me saying, hey, you know what? Not all artists draw a perfect drawing every single time. Sometimes we get halfway through or more than halfway through a piece and we just really don't like it, and that's okay. So I just wanted to preface this video by saying that, and enough with me rambling. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Sketchy Legends. Picture this. You wake up on a normal day, you get dressed, you eat your breakfast, and you head out the door for work. When you get there, you see a friend of yours, someone you've known for years. You know them very well. You know their likes, their dislikes, you've met their family and other friends of theirs. You have a regular conversation with them, topics you talk about normally, such as their favorite movies or plans for the weekend, and you both go your separate ways. They leave you and you continue working. You realize later on that day that you had forgotten to ask them something, so you call. Their family picks up and informs you that your friend is in the hospital, that earlier that morning they had gotten into a car crash and were in intensive care. You asked exactly what time that happened and were alarmed to find out that they were being transported to the hospital as soon as your alarm was going off to wake up. So that begs the question, who did you see? So many events occur like this all year round, but many people are too afraid to speak up about it in fear of being called crazy, or try to convince themselves that they were just dreaming, and that there was no way they saw their friend that day because it wasn't physically possible. However, some people think otherwise. Throughout history, there have been many stories and legends of body doubles, either in physical form or spiritual form, that are sent to friends and family, sometimes even their human counterpart. Sometimes these doubles are of purest intentions, and other times, more often than not, they are there to cause destruction and chaos. The word we typically use these days is doppelganger, which is defined as an apparition or double of a living person. The word doppelganger is of German origin, literally translating to double goer, meaning double walker. The most well-known legends about the doppelganger are that they're omens of bad luck. Once you see a doppelganger of someone you know, it could mean that person's human double could become extremely ill or be in great danger. However, if you are to see your own doppelganger, it means death. Because of this, They're oftentimes referred to as evil twins, and anyone would be advised to avoid talking to your doppelganger. They have been known to put bad thoughts into their human counterparts' minds, such as overwhelming anxiety and depression, causing them to hone in and focus on all the bad going on in their life, making them feel useless. Some people throughout history have even attributed suicides of seemingly happy individuals to doppelgangers, saying that there was no possible way they or anyone they know could have convinced them to commit such a horrific tragedy, that something supernatural had to be involved. However, just because there are a double of you doesn't mean that they actually are another version of you. There are other stories of doppelgangers being wraiths, an apparition that appears at or after a death, meant to trick or harm the family of the loved one who has passed. There are also stories of demons manifesting and transforming themselves to look like a friend or family member in order to trick or harm them. These doubles have a tendency to have a few errors, though. A demon-manifested doppelganger may have issues getting some of the details right at times, such as having eyes maybe the wrong color, or even having two different colors of eyes. Sometimes they have small parts of the body missing, such as an ear or a finger. There have even been stories of them completely mixing up body parts with that of another species, such as having a chicken's foot instead of a human's foot. However, these minute details often get missed because they would typically show themselves at times of duress or highly emotional states where the loved one isn't paying full attention to all the details. It's said that this would be how they would gain trust and possibly get them to sign their soul to the devil. On the other side of the spectrum, there are stories of them being called soul doubles, where they're sent to warn about upcoming disasters or tragedies. These stories seem to be far less common though, but in my personal opinion, I think they may be less documented because they would be almost impossible to tell apart from the soul double's human counterpart. A very famous documented story of a doppelganger dates way back to the mid-1800s, where Noah Brooks wrote his book Washington in Lincoln's Time about an encounter our 16th president had. He states that soon after the presidential election of 1860, where Abraham Lincoln just found out that he was to become the next president of the United States, he went home only to come to a halt in his parlor. He couldn't stop staring at his reflection in the bureau mirror. However, it wasn't just his regular reflection. He realized that he was being reflected in double. One of them was his regular reflection, but the other one was pale and gaunt-looking, like he had gone without food and sunlight. His ghostly reflection started to speak to him, and to give him a very specific message. You will serve your first term, but not finish your second. Then 5 years later, on April 15th of 1865, Lincoln was pronounced dead from a gunshot wound at the beginning of his second term in office. There are other cultures that have had doppelganger-like stories throughout their history. In Egyptian mythology, they call it Ka, a tangible spirit double who has the same feelings and memories as their flesh and blood double. In the myth, the Greek princess, the Egyptian version of the Trojan War, the Ka of Helen was used to mislead Paris of Troy in order to aid in stopping the war. In Norse mythology, there are entities known as Vardogr, ghostly beings that preceded their counterparts, taking their place in various activities before the real person would come to do the same task, shocked to find out that the task has already been completed. While Vardogr seem harmless, they're the cause of a lot of confusion, to say the least, appearing in front of other people to do these tasks, and then those same people witnessing the real person show up shortly after. In various parts of Europe, mostly talking about Irish folklore, there are creatures called trows, who were a type of fairy that frequently gave birth to sickly or problematic children. they would proceed to stalk humans and swap out their child for the perfectly healthy human child in order to keep them as their own. When the swap was made, the Trow child changes to look exactly like that of the human child. These creatures are typically known as changelings and are a way of explaining when people would go through mood swings or crippling depression or anxiety or would start acting out. It was basically a way to explain various types of mental illnesses that no one knew about at the time. While some doppelgangers may seem harmless, know that you can never truly understand their intentions. They could be anywhere from a spirit looking after you or a demonic presence looking to ruin your life. It may be hard to remember, but scour your minds. Can you remember a time where you've seen a doppelganger? I hope you all have enjoyed this week's episode of Sketchy Legends. Next week, I'll have a treat for you. A true story from one of my family members who has had a lot of really creepy and interesting things happen in his life that are just so perfect for this channel. If you have any topics you would like to tell me or are interested in being covered in this series, make sure you comment down below. Or if you have a ghost story or an urban legend or any strange encounter of some sort, any natural force you'd like to share, just direct me a message on Instagram at j_defiori_art. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me as well. And why not head on over to Twitter at that same handle and follow me there too? I mean, why not? Let's be friends. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope all of you have a great day.